what is your top 5 chase sequences of Scream? So today, guys, we will be discussing our top 5 chase sequences of the Scream franchise. Let's begin. So Ryan, what is your 5th place for top 5 Scream chase sequences?
So there are a lot of chase sequences in the Scream franchise. They are what make this franchise fun and entertaining. So for me, coming in at number 5 is C.C. Cooper's chase in Scream 2. So C.C. Cooper is played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, and this is the sequence where she is in the sorority house and she's talking to one of her friends, and I believe the friend leaves. And so you see her sitting there watching TV, and then all of a sudden out jumps Ghostface. She gets chased up the stairs to a bedroom and onto the balcony, and she gets stabbed. And then you think that's over? No, we got more, ladies and gentlemen. She gets thrown off of that balcony to her death. And that's one of the first times we see Ghostface do a stab and then follow it up with a toss off of a balcony. I think that might be the first time I've ever seen Ghostface do that, period. I don't think I can recall of any kill that Ghostface has done reminiscent to that. But the reason why this scene works for me is because it mixes up what we're used to seeing. So we are used to the stabs. And I think by having Ghostface do the stabs, but also follow it up with tossing a character off to their death, that gives us something unique, something new, something we have not seen, because this is the second installment in the franchise, and we all know that Ghostface's favorite weapon is the use of that knife. So to mix it up and give us a kill that Ghostface utilizes his setting, I think was a good direction to go in, and I think it makes that movie that more interesting. So Kevin, what is your number 5 Ghostface chase sequence?
So my 5th place choice for chase sequences in the Scream franchise is no other than Tatum's garage death scene. So we're all familiar with Scream 1996. In the 3rd act, we notice that we are at a party at Stu Macher's house. And so everyone is there, including Tatum, who is, as you guys know, the younger sister of Dewey and the best friend of Sidney Prescott. And so we see her make this run to the garage where there's a refrigerator full of beers. And she goes to the garage to go get the beers to bring them inside for the rest of the people and students who are inside. But she never makes it back inside, because when she tries to get up the stairs, she is confronted by no other than Ghostface himself. Now, the intrigue and the positivity in this particular scene as a chase sequence is it is in a closed area. The garage is closed throughout most of this particular scene. So we're in this small space here. For those of you who do not like small spaces, this builds the fear and the anxiety inside of you as you see Ghostface brandish the Ghostface knife and then starts to stab Tatum there on the arm, slices her on the arm. But the interesting thing about this particular sequence is that it is one of the first times that we see Ghostface take out one of the characters without the cause of death being knife. The cause of death here was the opening of the garage, because we see Tatum try to escape through the doggy door of this garage, but she's not able to fit through in time of the garage being lit up by Ghostface, and she climbs, not physically or literally, but she figuratively climbs by the garage door going up to her demise. And so that was impactful for me, as we see the best friend of Sidney and the sister of one of the legendary characters, Dewey, die. So that's my 5th place choice. Ryan, what is your number 4?
So coming in at number 4 is one that some people deem as the best chase sequence of the whole franchise. But I would like to beg to differ. This chase sequence that I'm referring to is the studio chase sequence in Scream 2 with Gail and Dewey. So that's the scene where they are at Sydney's, I believe it's the college. It's college style studio where people are studying film and things. And basically what happens is Ghostface comes into contact, or Gail comes into contact with Ghostface. Gail bolts into the recording studio next door, and the studio is soundproof. So you see Dewey coming in, and then you see Ghostface right behind him, and he doesn't know Ghostface is behind him, and Ghostface comes up and stabs him in the back, and you seemingly think Dewey is dead. So then we get Gail being chased throughout the hallway because Ghostface comes out and chases Gail, and then she's going into different rooms here and there, and it starts to build up suspense because the area that she goes to, Ghostface is trailing her, and at the moment he's not seeing her, but he's trailing her. So you're like, man, hopefully he doesn't go to the area where she is, because your camera starts to pan and show shots where Gail is in a certain area. Then you see in the other end of the screen, you see Ghostface walking, getting closer. So it starts to build suspense, and that's what I really love about that scene. I also like the fact that it makes you believe that Dewey dies, even though he does not. Those of you who are big Scream fans know that Dewey ends up living all the way to Scream 5. But I would say this comes in at my number 4 because of the suspense that it builds and the tension. The only issue I have is that we don't really get any kills in that sequence. So that's my number 4. What is yours, Kevin?
So my number 4 is Rebecca Walters' garage death scene. So this was in Scream 4, 2011. So Sydney Prescott is on a book tour, and she has her publicist with her, and her publicist is Rebecca Walters. So Rebecca Walters, you see, has this kind of cunning, gritty type of personality. She is a person who goes by the ends justify the means, as she is booked Sydney for all these different places to be interviewed by famous people and things of that nature. But we see that Sydney fires Rebecca Walters. And immediately after being fired, Rebecca Walters goes to drive off. So she goes to the parking garage to get into her vehicle. And as she's going there, she gets a phone call from Ghostface himself saying that she is the example. And so we see this dark parking garage, which it is filmed late at night. And the creepy thing is she does not see where Ghostface is until he makes himself known. When she's in the car, he jumps on the hood of the car, and then he disappears. And then as we see her running to escape because her engine won't turn over and her car won't start, she seems to escape, running to one of the exit doors to get out of the garage. But the door handle breaks, and voila, Ghostface appears, charging at her as fast as he can come, and she meets her demise. The interesting thing about this particular scene is that it's filmed at night. How many of us have been in a dark parking garage in an urban area, especially at night? You always feel like you have to look over your shoulder all the time as you're trying to get into your vehicle. You're always afraid that maybe there is someone who's been watching you the whole entire time, who's willing to take you out or to kidnap you. This is a fear that many of us have had, and the fact that this particular film in this movie exploits that with rigor was impeccable to me. And for that reason, it is my number 4. Ryan, what is your number 3?
So coming in at number 3 with the bronze medal is the chase sequence in Scream 2 with Sydney and Hallie in the police vehicle, because they are targets of Ghostface and the police are basically giving them police protection. So basically Ghostface kills the 2 cops in the car, and he takes over the driving of the vehicle while Sydney and Hallie are in the car, and crashes the vehicle, and Ghostface is knocked out in the driver's seat of the vehicle. And the only way for Sydney and Hallie to get out of the car is they have to crawl over Ghostface while he's knocked out. So it was interesting because you're just thinking, man, how are they going to get out fast enough for Ghostface not to wake up and kill him? And so they end up getting out, but that they're not going to escape scot-free. Something has got to happen. So as they are walking away, Sydney goes back to the car to look at who Ghostface really was, which she should have done while she was crawling over him to get out of the car. And all of a sudden, Ghostface has pulled a Batman and he's gone, not in the vehicle anymore. So Sydney's over there next to the driver door of the police car, and Hallie is standing near a construction site as she has walked away from the police vehicle. And this is the issue with this one. I liked it, but the issue was I knew as soon as I saw Hallie standing next to that construction site, I said Ghostface is gonna pop right out and he's gonna get her, because we know that Sydney is a main legacy character and they are not gonna kill her off. And surely enough, that is what happened. Ghostface jumps out from behind the construction site and he gets Hallie right there. And then that kicks us off into the third act of the film. But I really like this sequence because it really set up and built a lot of tension and kept you wondering what was going to happen. And that's exactly what the franchise should do. So, Kevin, what is your number 3 Ghostface chase sequence?
So my number 3 Ghostface chase sequence is Dewey's hospital death scene in Scream 5. Now, one might argue that this is not really a chase sequence because Dewey chooses not to get onto the elevator, but to actually go back to face Ghostface. But I would submit to you, this is perhaps one of the better chase sequences because it's one of the first times we see a character not run away from Ghostface, but instead to become the predator to the prey of Ghostface. But unfortunately, Dewey meets his demise as Ghostface jumps up when Dewey tries to shoot him and stabs him in the gut and then in the back and then both times, and then says, "It's been a pleasure," or "It's an honor." Honor to take Dewey out. So the reason why this is my third place bronze finisher of chase sequences is because, like I said, Dewey is on the attack. He is the chaser of Ghostface in this particular scene. Additionally, we see that one of our legacy characters from the original trilogy is taken out, which is sad to see, especially for those who are fans of the Scream franchise. David Arquette has been one of the reasons why many of us have kept coming back to watch after Scream movie because of his silliness and because of his believability and candor to the role of police officer in these movies. And so for those reasons, I have this scene as my number 3. So Ryan, what is your number 2 chase sequence of the Scream franchise?
So coming in at number 2 with the silver medal is the Rebecca chase sequence in the parking garage from Scream 4, as you mentioned, was, I believe, your number 4. So this chase sequence is one of the best chase sequences in this whole franchise, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason being is because you see Rebecca Walters, Sydney's publicist, walking into the parking garage alone. Nobody is in that parking garage, not a single soul. It's dark, very dimly lit. And then you see her fumbling through her purse trying to get her keys. And she suspects that something is going to happen because she's fumbling in a hurry. And she tries to get into her car and tries to leave in the vehicle, but ends up going towards the stairs of the parking garage. And we really didn't even see Ghostface until right when she turns around. She's trying to open the door to the stairs, and then she turns around. She's running. All of a sudden, Ghostface appears like Batman right there, stabs her in her stomach. And you're like, man, you're thinking to yourself, you're hoping that she can get to that door quick enough and then get out. But the door's locked, and then she turns around right there. Batman trick, Ghostface is there, stabs her in her stomach. And the reason why I have this as number 2 is because this is one of the more unsettling chase sequences. It just builds up tension. It's dark. You haven't really seen Ghostface in a parking garage before. It's a new setting. There's different areas, lots of places for Ghostface to hide and pop out. And so that's why this chase sequence is one of the better ones, in my opinion. And that's the reason why I have it as my number 2. Kevin, what is your number 2 chase sequence?
So my number 2 chase sequence is CC Cooper's sorority house death scene. So in this particular chase sequence, we have one of the famous celebrity actors playing, like Ryan mentioned, I believe her name's Michelle Gellar. She seems to be somewhat similar. This scene is somewhat similar to Drew Barrymore's opening scene in Scream 1996. So you have Michelle Gellar playing the role of a sorority sister in this big giant sorority house here. And for those of you who know about sorority houses and things of that nature, I've become familiar with them from having my sister who was part of a sorority and stuff like that. And they lived in these giant sorority homes, especially at these big college campuses and stuff like that. And just noticed that, and with her being a part of it. And so that kind of reminded me of that. And one of the fears as a brother, you don't want anything to ever happen to your sister. So seeing that and having a sister that's been a part of a large sorority, living in a big sorority house that I've seen before at a big college campus, this reminded me of that with this particular scene with CC's death, of her being the only person in this giant 10,000 square foot sorority house with all these stairs and these staircases to go through all the way up on 3 different floors. And we see her at the end of the scene, as this scene plays for about 5 to 6 minutes, her running up the stairs because Ghostface is chasing her with his knife, and she's throwing things like a plant and then a bicycle, but it's not stopping Ghostface. She enters what appears to be some sort of bedroom or something that has these glass French doors which open up to a Juliet type balcony situation, I believe on the 3rd floor. And Ghostface stabs her, actually throws her through the French door glass. And then she's on the balcony, and then he stabs her and picks her up and throws her all the way 3 stories down to her demise. This was shocking to me, as we see Ghostface finish off a person by throwing them off of a house, and in this case a tall, huge house with 3 stories to her death. And I told you the reason why this scene was scary for me is having a sibling who has been a part of a sorority, seeing how big those houses are, because my sister used to live in them, and I know that they are big and they have giant cafeterias inside of them and these big giant floors with all this kind of stuff, and they're very well-to-do type of environments and houses that most people can't afford to live in. And so it was scary, because I was thinking, oh, what would it be like if my sister was in her place? I would definitely not want that for her. And so this is why this scene is my number 2. Ryan, what is your number 1 chase sequence for the Scream franchise?
So coming in at number 1 is the bodega sequence from Scream 6. So this chase sequence is different than many of the chase sequences we've seen. And reason being is because it takes place in a public area with witnesses everywhere. Witnesses such as the clerk, witnesses such as people in the gas station just buying regular things. And you see Ghostface chase Sam and Tara into that bodega, and you're thinking, hey, Ghostface is probably gonna stop as soon as they go in there. But nope, Ghostface walks straight in, and he is confronted by a couple of customers in the bodega. And you know what Ghostface does? He just takes them out as if they weren't there. Just takes them out. And then when he gets confronted by the clerk, Ghostface takes the clerk out. And what's even crazier is the fact that the clerk has a weapon and is armed. And Ghostface says he doesn't care. He takes his shotgun and then ends up taking him out. So this chase sequence is set up so brilliantly because you just don't see it coming. You don't see it come. Like, you're thinking, surely Ghostface is not gonna do this. And every single time you think he's not gonna do something, he does exactly what you least expect him to do. You didn't expect him to use a shotgun. You didn't expect him to walk up in there, and you didn't expect him to take out any of those witnesses in pursuit of Sam and Tara's character. And as I said before in the Scream 6 review, that one of the things I liked about Scream 6 is it went in some bold directions, and this chase sequence comes in with a gold medal as one of my favorite chase sequences in the Scream franchise. And it's simply because of the boldness and the being able to not play on what we expect. So Kevin, what do you have as your number 1?
So my number 1 is also the bodega scene in Scream 6. Now, as we just talked about this particular scene, this chase sequence here, we have Tara, and then we also have Sam, and they're running away from Ghostface, and they decide, hey, what is a good hideout here is to go into a place where there are several other people. And it seems like it is a good place to go because we first see the guy confront Ghostface and starts to fight him, but unfortunately Ghostface takes him out. Then another guy starts to fight Ghostface and is taken out by Ghostface. And then we see the clerk behind the counter take out his shotgun, try to shoot Ghostface. Ghostface ducks. And then we get to the scariest part of the scene where Ghostface takes the shotgun away from the clerk, shoots and kills the clerk, and then proceeds to eerily look for Sam and Tara as they're trying to hide from him from one of the neighboring aisles. This scene goes on for quite some time in the quietness as these two sisters are eerily facing imminent danger of Ghostface with the shotgun who is looking for them. And then through bravery, they push over one of the shelves to take out Ghostface right before he tries to shoot them. And so the fact that there is this courage that, guys, it looks like that we had a camera issue, but I'm back. So just as I was describing here, you have a situation where these two sisters push over the aisle and they cause Ghostface to fly back. He's not able to shoot them and they run out and the police arrive. The reason why this was a good scene and perhaps the best scene of chase sequences in the movie is you see here the courage of the two sisters, that despite the chances of them looking like they're about to survive is limited, they fight back by pushing. They show that they're not victims, but that they are people that are assertive. And so I really enjoyed this scene. I enjoyed the fact that it was a public area. It's something that we're all familiar with, having been in convenience stores in places like this where that is a possibility, unfortunately. And I'm glad for these sisters with their bravery. So that is the reason why this is my number one for the Scream franchise. Ryan, what are we working on?
So we're working on doing some more Scream tier counts right before the release of Scream 7.
So one of those tier counts will be our ranking of the ghost faces from Scream 1 through 6. And we want to see who finishes number 1. So stay tuned for that review. And guys, additionally, we would love to know what your opinions are for your rankings of the top 5 chase sequences in the Scream franchise. So please put your ranking below in the comment section. And remember, Fright Fam, be watchful.